Yo, what is going on, guys? Alex Boots here, Resident Impact Systems. Hope you're doing well. I'm out back today, so hope you don't mind the 70-degree weather here in Florida. But today we're going to go over creating predictable meeting generation for MSPs without more leads. I've been in the IT channel a better part of a decade. I had my own MSP. I've worked with many other MSPs, mainly in a business development and a sales capacity. And I know how hard it is to create outbound and to create pipeline. Most MSPs have with that. I would say it's probably at least 80% of MSPs that I talk to that would consider that they have a lead problem. So, if you've shown up today, you can probably relate to that. There's very few I talk to that have an outbound motion actually nailed down and figured out. Now, I think I talk to a lot of people, and I'm always trying to wrap my head around why is it that there's an apparency that there's a lead flow problem with MSPs, and I call it an apparency for a reason, and I'll get to that. But I think at the bottom of it, every truth is really simple, right? Simplicity is really uh, normally at the bottom of any chain of logic that you're trying to get to, and I think it just has to do with market dynamics. Um, Managed IT service offerings are not something that are necessarily glamorous or easy to create intrigue. They're not necessarily easy to create. It's not like we're going out and selling some interesting SaaS app when we're selling managed IT service. We're selling a complicated, layered, varied service that has a lot of different factors and elements to it. And then there's a lot of businesses, SMBs, I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say easily over 50%. It's probably greater than that. Plus employees, let's go ahead and categorize it as that already have an existing solution in place. So it's a little bit like selling insurance, and it can get very price driven and it's very competitive. So you know, if you kind of look at it, I think really why marketing and selling managed IT is difficult. One of the top reasons is that just the marketplace that you're selling into. So really, in talking to, I mean, I've probably spoke with over 100 MSPs this year on 30-minute, introductory sales calls. I'm a consultant. I help MSPs, and almost every single one of them, um, they don't really have a great explanation for why they can't seem to get more leads. They just want more leads. They want somebody to get them more leads, or they want a system that's going to accomplish it for them. Most of them are not sales and marketing guys. I know that's not news to you. And so they're trying to tackle an area that they don't have a lot of experience or expertise in, and marketing and selling a product that is not easy to market and sell. So you have like two problems on one. And so really what I see is not a lot of outbound structure, activity, and systems in place for an MSP. Now, you'll probably ask the question, okay, so I'd like to do outbound as an MSP, right? Where do I start? Do I go get an agency? Do I start with my marketing, my existing resources? Like, do I start with improving my website, improving my brand, improving my awareness? A lead gen agency. Um, and just speaking to the lead gen agency environment, it, you've you do not hear a lot of lead gen firms in our space that are successful, which is something that really struck me. I used to be a business development rep for an MSP. And when I started to get into tackling lead gen for MSPs, I was struck by the lack of success that is accomplished by agencies. And I'm a very inquisitive person. I want to get to the bottom of things. So I was questioning it. Why? Why are they struggling? Why aren't they succeeding? And every day I get ads coming on my feed We'll book you 10 appointments a month. We have a system that will get you 10, 20 qualified leads. And every time I see that, hmm, I'd really like to see the funnel that you've built that will accomplish that in a now that's not to say I don't think that's possible, because it is, but I think it's possible with a proper system built into your MSP that accomplishes that purpose. I think you need to be in the driver's seat of your lead generation, because it is a structure, there is a flow to it. It needs to be an assembly line. And most MSPs will go to a lead gen and say, "Hey, do this one thing for me, and I'm going to expect you to get all these results from me." And let's say the lead gen firm is doing cold calling. Well, I've done tons of cold calling. Even cold calling, you have to have an assembly line. You have to have resources. You have to have marketing assets to share. And you have to have a plan. You have to have a campaign. You have to back it up with a good sales motion. So there's kind of a lot of elements that go into that. So for today, I wanted to talk to you guys about the structure behind successful outbound for an MSP, and give you some things that you can think with today, and maybe some things that you can do immediately to start getting some results in the area. I do help MSPs with outbound. So if you are interested in having like a one-on-one consult with me, very happy to do that with you. You can drop me something in the chat, or hit me up after. And of course, if you have questions during, you can go ahead and ask those questions. But I'm gonna go ahead and share with you guys slide here, and I hope you see this okay. We're gonna go ahead. So this is an actual graph that I built as a business development rep. And part of the problem with creating consistency in your outbound is many, right? Everybody is after a consistency. Now, if you have one person who is doing prospecting, bringing in accounts, and then closing those accounts, and then being a farmer for those accounts, you're not set up for consistency in outbound. I actually had that role for a bit where I was the hunter and then I was the closer. I wasn't even the farmer, but even just being the hunter and the closer, and I had some role in onboarding, you can see that. Let me just show you this graph. So I found that, look at this span of weeks right here. Okay. This is low outbound activity. This is not many prospects being reached. After about 4 weeks of inconsistent or low activity on prospecting, you're going to get hit with a drought that's going to last longer than 4 weeks. It can take weeks of work to turn around a pipeline that is not continually being built. It's sort of like once you build the pipeline, you just got to keep rolling on it weekly. And there's a lot that I could tell you about the systems and KPIs and things to have in place when you're doing it. But the key is that you have to have somebody owning it consistently, because the minute you drop it out, it takes more work than it took to build it to actually get it back going again. It's like when that engine stops, the amount of motion it takes to rev that thing back up always surprised me. And there was always pain, there was always heartache involved in that process. So, save yourself the heartache and save yourself the pain, and actually just get consistent prospecting activities in place. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the keys of prospecting and what you can do today. So I don't know, of the people that are here today, you could be startups, you could be companies that have some sales reps, you could have, you could be totally founder-led sales. So that's going to determine how you're going to tackle this. However, the function of business development will always fall on somebody's head, whether it's you or whether it's somebody else. It's like the way an organization works is you have functions that have to be expressed in order for an organization to grow and expand, right? You have a legal function, you have accounting, you have finance, you have hiring, you have sales, you have marketing, you have service delivery, you have quality control. All of these things are functions that a growing and expanding organization has to have expressed and has to be known that those functions are expressed in your company for you to grow. So for example, prospecting, outbound lead generation, business development. That is a natural, universal function of every organization, regardless of any industry or business that you're going to start. If you don't have a way of going to market, reaching customers, and putting your service into their hands, it's obvious that there is going to be no growth. Now, if you do not attain knowledge and understanding of that function, and it's just kind of a gap in your business, it's going to be a major, major problem and sticking point for you. And one of the best things that you can honestly do after this webinar is you could take your MSP, if you don't already have this, you could write out a full organization chart of all of the functions that your MSP does and who is doing what function. If it's you, list yourself on every single thing. And at the end of that exercise, you'll find that you're missing certain things. Oh man, I'm not even taking into account quality control. I do quality control. Man, I'm not even taking into account referral partners and affiliates. I'm the one that's supposed to be doing that. Man, I'm not even taking into account establishing, I don't know, writing case studies and getting testimonials and collecting successes, right? Collecting successes from your customers. That is a natural function of organization that has to be done. It's part of your outbound machine, having social proof, case studies, testimonials, right? So after you do this exercise of writing out, what are all the things I'm doing in my MSP? What are all the organizational functions? You'll go, oh, I'm missing these points. And then you'll go, dang, all of these things fall on me to do. Because they're going to snap onto somebody. If you're the only head in your org, they're going to snap onto your head, whether you like it or not. And I think that's the thing that creates some friction in business development, especially for for founder-led MSPs, is that business development function has snapped onto your head, my friend. It is yours. If you don't own it, it will tank you. Now, you can get that function snapped onto somebody else's head. You can either do it with fractional help, or you can do it by hiring somebody. Now, a lot of MSPs don't know how to hire a business development person, and it's pure trial and error. I have some advice that I can tell you on that if you're looking to hire someone for your MSP. Or if you're going to go fractionally and engage a firm, a lead gen firm, in order to help you with that, I promise you that lead gen firm is not going to handle every aspect of the business development organization that has to be in place. They might do elements of it. Well, you have to own the rest. So you have to know what are the pieces of business development. Let's talk about this for a minute. Okay. I'm going to throw some terms out to you. Marketing, demand generation, lead generation, business development, prospecting. What are the difference between those terms? Like, terminologies are important. To a lot of MSPs, marketing is a brochure. It's sending a mailer. It's your website. That's incorrect. Marketing is embracive of the whole thing. Marketing is branding, it's merchandising, it's packaging, something attractive and getting it and getting it into the hands of your prospect. It includes everything. Business development is a piece of marketing. It tacks onto it. Now, if you have a website that looks okay, if you have some introductory resources to share with your MSP, if you have brochures, you kind of have the basics of what does marketing need to give to business development for business development to be successful. Because the other thing is, let's say you hire a firm to do business development and you don't give them good assets to work with, they're going to fail because they need backed up by marketing. Business development needs to be backed up by marketing. It doesn't mean you need to go and spend thousands of dollars on optimizing your website and doing all this and doing all that. But it does mean that you need to understand and understand that marketing is an assembly line as well that feeds into business development. So if you are a founder today, and you are the one wearing the business development function, there's a couple pieces of advice that I would give you in order, how do you go out and how do you get prospects? First thing, which is extremely obvious, and I know it seems probably like, thank you, Captain Obvious. You need to communicate broadly. You need to get onto communication lines to other people through LinkedIn, networking, phone, email. Okay, this is simple stuff I'm talking. But probably the most powerful play that you could do, one that I did, is if you're familiar with the term canvassing, it means to go around locally in your city and visit businesses. If you are a founder or you are a very small business development team, you don't have tons of money to spend. Doing canvassing is one of the most high impact, best return on investment activities that you can do. I could do a 1-hour seminar on how to do canvassing. Maybe I'll do that on a YouTube live. But the simplicities are, you walk into an office, you have a business card or you have some marketing collateral. You already know the name of the person you want to introduce yourself to, and you go in and make an introduction, and you try to have a conversation, and you try to book a sales appointment from that. I got to where I could do 17, I think it was 14 business drop-ins, and I would get one good lead from doing that. Cost me almost nothing to do. Another thing that you could do is you could leverage something like LinkedIn, and you could do webinars. You could, now the webinar play, I'm actually doing webinars for an MSP right now. There's a lot of functions and pieces that you need to have in place. You need to have a good landing page. You need to have a good outbound motion, calling, emailing, social media, in order to reach and get the butts and seats registered, which can take thousands of calls. It can take a lot of work to get good webinars in place. But event marketing is a very successful play for MSPs, whether you want to hold in-person events or you want to hold virtual events. Now, let's talk about cold calling for a minute. I have seen teams of cold callers, 4 or 5 people strong in an MSP, and I've managed cold callers, a 4 or 5 person team, calling for MSP services. Is it effective? Yes. However, it is based on scale and it is based on volume. Now, given that, if you do not train and manage and set up your cold caller for success, your SDR, if you're not spending at least 30 minutes to an hour with them, in my opinion, a day, if that's not in, then they're not going to be successful. because you're not going to be dialing the right scripts with them. You're not going to be managing them per the right KPIs. You're not going to be debugging them when they get inevitably stuck and bogged and not successful on their job, because they'll go up and down and up and down, and you need to continually kind of get them going until they're strong enough to really be pumping on their own. If you do that, then it's a volume game, and it is successful, but it also needs to be backed by other types of plays, like webinars or information sessions, which is just kind of a it's kind of like a what's the word for it? It's kind of like a PR thing. We say, hey, we're inviting you to an information session with our team. And really what that is a discovery call or an introductory call. I've seen that be very successful with cold calling teams. You have to have good lists with good enrichment. So things like really Zoom Info was very successful. Apollo is I use Apollo. It's okay. It's much more inexpensive. Zoom Info requires annual contracts, and they can be like 13, 14, 15,000. So a lot of MSPs can't afford that. But you need to have good list enrichment, and you need to have strategy and targeting, and you need to if you're all this goes back to, regardless of whether you hire a cold calling team or you outsource to an agency or you hire someone yourself, you have the business development function as your responsibility. That is the first thing you need to grasp and fully get, is that it is your responsibility, because that firm will fail if you're not in there taking responsibility as well for the results of that. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in here. Again, I don't know the diversity of the audience today, as far we're talking to bigger MSPs, smaller MSPs, but feel free to put your questions in here. And if there's something you want me to dial in on more, I can. But for business development, the title of this is How to Generate Meetings Without More Leads. Because I'm of the opinion, and I think it's obvious to you after I tell you, are we lacking leads as MSPs? Like, really? Are we actually lacking leads? There are millions of businesses in the United States to close for managed IT services. So it's not that. What MSPs are lacking is business development execution. And to execute, you have to have a plan. To have a plan, you have to have an understanding of the situation or the scene that you're looking at. In order to have an understanding of the situation or scene that you're looking at, you have to have a basic understanding of the terms involved. You have to know what business development means, what prospecting means, why it's important to your MSP. Now, if you would like some strategic help on looking into your plan or developing a business development plan for your MSP, that is a very, very worthwhile endeavor to have a consultant or someone who knows the area to help you develop a plan, because a plan, a strategy, can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a battle plan, if you don't have a strategy for the war, you are not going to win the war. And the strategy is not just like, we're going to do some webinars and we're going to do some cold calling and we're going to do this. It's like the full description of the current situation that you're in, where you're trying to get to, what are the strategic maneuvers you need to make to handle the immediate things that are impeding your success with getting more leads. Then, what resources do you need to attain that? And what are the by step things that you're going to do in order to sequentially, in order to achieve that plan. If you want help with that, that's, send me an email, reach out to me after this, and I can definitely, come in and assist you with that. But, another thing is one of the plays that I did as a founder when I was doing the canvassing is I would go in and I would survey the business owner. So I'd come in and I would say, I had about 10 questions. Say, hey, I'm a local IT company here in Columbus, and I actually just wanted to get your feedback on the subject of IT. Wanted to ask you some questions. Can I speak to the owner? Like, oh, okay, well, sure. Get the owner to come up. Brad, I'm Alex. I'm actually a local IT business owner here in town, and I wanted to get your feedback on the subject of IT. Okay, sure. And then I would go down my list of questions, things like your experience been with managing your technology in your business? Have you ever hired a firm to manage it? What was your experience with them? What has been your biggest frustrations or issues with your technology or your IT? And when you pose it as I'm just getting your feedback, this is like a marketing survey that you're doing. It puts them, they're not on the defense. They don't feel like they're being sold to. So you can just get them into communication with you and get their feedback. And at the end of it, a lot of times I would find that they're a prospect for my services. I signed up, I think, 10,000 MRR, just doing that survey over several months. Another thing that I did is, again, I don't know the audience I'm fully speaking to, but talking from my founder-led MSP experience was I took anyone who was a break fix client who had ever done hourly T&M work for, and I set up sales meetings to convert them into managed IT plans, given that they were at least 4 or 5 people strong. I closed a law firm at, like $250 a seat, a 4-person law firm, from just break fix to MRR. I closed a print shop onto MRR. I closed a logistics company that had just done T&M project into MRR. So there's like definitely some like immediate hits that you can go out and get. You can take your whole T&M list and you can see how you can convert them into managed IT. I was a part of, if you're familiar, 7-figure MSP, Chris Weiser, and he has a whole cybersecurity play of how can you what's like there's a sales motion to convert your T&M guys into managed IT. But it's the start of 2026. So I'm sure you're looking at your year. And one of the best things that you could do is take a real hard look at marketing and business development. Look at the trailing 12 months. Look at your numbers. Look at your financials. Look at your return. Look at your activity metrics. If you don't have activity metrics, that's where you need to start. You need to ascertain what your activity metrics are. And set aside a whole day, a whole weekend, and just confront your business development department. And bring a guy like me in if you need some help looking at it. But confront it. And let's come up with a plan first before you spend any more money on going to hire a lead gen firm or doing this or doing that. Maybe you need to, if you have business development reps, maybe you need to tweak your commission plan. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe you need to adjust some activity metrics. Maybe you need some weekly meetings with your guys that are not in place. Maybe you need some bonus structures and some games to play with your salespeople. And maybe there's lack of management oversight right now with your business development team. So you don't know what the gaps are until we take a full look at your department. So again, thanks for showing up today. I hope that you got some value out of the stream. Would love your feedback on this. You can send me an email. You can hit me on LinkedIn, give me your feedback. And if you want some help in looking at your plan, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to even just do like a free 20-minute call with you just to kind of go over some things that you're running into. But have an awesome 2026. And I really hope that you flourish and prosper and you grow your MSP and you reach towards your dreams of what you want it to be. I'm Alex Boots, Resonant Impact Systems. Thanks for coming today.